Next up, we have another double L. We've got Laurie Lindeen. Let's get some pause.
Thank you, Lucas. Hi. I don't have anything coming out soon. This is something unpublished that I just pulled off my shelf. It's my first unpublished book. I have many. And this is about a 7th grade girl in about 1974 and her first love, who happens to die on a field trip. Fell off a cliff, sneaking a smoke. But so I'm going to read a little bit about their early love. And I'm just going to land in weird places. The main reason I kept up my religious instruction was that idle information was often revealed while waiting in the church parking lot for our ride. There is something about putting us all out of our element with holy undertones that forced erotic issues to the surface. One rainy autumn night, while standing under an overhang that hugged the building, one of the precious angels in my company related the terms hand job, blow job, and the highly questionable foot job. This information was provided by an older sister in great confidence and passed down to all of us just feet away from the rectory where celibate priests sipped brandy and prayed for our souls. On another occasion, all the bases were explained with qualifying subsets like second base under the bra and third base over pants. So you can see why it was imperative for me to keep up with catechism. One time in 7th grade when I was grounded, which was most of that year, my boyfriend Steve and I took a city bus to East Town Mall to see Papillon. Not only was I grounded, but I was forbade viewing GP movies, which is what they used to call them. I'll never forget crunching down low in my seat with my heart jumping through my rib cage at the sight of my mother walking up and down the aisle of the movie theater with an usher carrying a flashlight. The next thing I knew, she was digging her claw-like frosted nails into my arm and she dragged me out of there. I was so embarrassed that I wanted to turn to vapor, which was one of my favorite fantasies. I blocked out my mother's screeching rant on our rainy ride home. The tan Volkswagen jerked violently every time she switched gear, and that was the surefire sign that she was really angry. I couldn't speak at the time because I was probably madder than she was. I kept thinking about Steve sitting in that tiny mall theater all alone and probably planning to dump me because my mother was a maniac. I thought that my life was over once it got around school, that my mom dragged me out of Papillon, but it never got around. My gallant first boyfriend kept his lips sealed. Just prior to my ejection from the movie house, Steve had gotten up the nerve to put his trembling arm around my quivering shoulder. I think he was getting up the guts to place his sweaty palm over the soft lump of swollen nipple that served as a breast. I was kind of relieved that he didn't get down there because I was wearing a tiny girl's bra that I was not too comfortable about. I ended up with that new rig when my mother, inspecting those soft plugs emerging from my otherwise concave chest, bellowed from a department store dressing room, "I think it's time we got you a bra." She said bra louder and more drawn out than any word I'd heard her utter in all of my 13 years. If Steve had intended to reach second base, I'll never know for sure. I was extremely grounded after my minor act of rebellion, and Steve died before I was paroled. Fortunately, we got to kiss outside the chocolate shop on 2 separate occasions. The chocolate shop is where everyone from my middle school went to hang out and smoke cigarettes during lunch hour. It was right across the street from school. Inside the dark, cavernous confectionery, 100 midget chain smokers aged 11 through 13 piled in to listen for You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet by BTO to come through the transistor radio that vibrated on a shelf behind the ice cream counter. It resembled a scene from Pinocchio, only none of us turned into donkeys in a literal sense. I could still smell Steve's sour cream and onion potato chip and Newport cigarette breath as our dry, nervous lips met while we embraced. They were my first kisses, though I think Steve got around. The kisses were as dry as sand and bittersweet, kind of like a mixture of orange marmalade and earwax. I bent down to meet his lips, I was a good 4 inches taller, and it must have been hard for him with such a great height disadvantage, but like I said, I sensed that Steve had prior experience. I was too busy worrying about technique to enjoy any particular sensation anyway. The one feeling I could have done without was my heart pounding through my plaid jacket. Sometimes I used to passionately kiss my pillow for something to do, and I have to admit, it failed to prepare me for the real thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.